Soft thunder rolls across the distance, a whisper carried through the endless skies above forgotten lands. The night is calm, yet alive with secrets. Stars watching as guardians of mysteries older than any mortal tale. Among these secrets lies a story untold, hidden in the folds of time, resting where silence meets eternity. This is not a tale of conquest or war, but of wonder, of seeking, and of a god who longed to understand. Zeus, ruler of Olympus, lord of thunder and skies, known for strength, yet restless in his immortal heart. Though he sat upon the highest throne, storms at his command, his spirit was unsettled, searching for more. Whispers reached him, carried by winds, of a valley untouched by time, where eternity itself breathed. It was said the valley held truths deeper than Olympus, older than the heavens, softer than the clouds. Curiosity grew within him, not as a king's hunger for power, but as a soul's yearning for unseen wonders. And so begins our journey, not into battle or storm, but into silence, reflection, and the valley of eternity. The winds carried whispers across peaks, songs of places untouched, older than Olympus, older than the skies. They spoke of a valley where time itself bent, where moments lingered like shadows and never faded away. No mortal knew its path, no scroll bore its map, yet the story endured, woven into echoes of eternity. Zeus, high above on Olympus, heard these murmurs, drifting like clouds, subtle yet persistent in his ear. Though he commanded storms and shaped destinies, curiosity stirred within him, a quiet spark he could not quell. Each night, when the stars stretched like silver veins, he wondered if truth lay hidden beyond mortal reach. It was not power he sought, nor dominion, but a deeper knowing, a glimpse of mysteries before creation. The whispers grew clearer, as if the valley itself called, inviting the king of gods to witness its silence. Zeus listened, and the thunder in his chest softened, shifting from command to yearning, from rule to reflection. He questioned what it meant to reign when knowledge itself remained incomplete, vast, and forever unseen. Mortals prayed for rain, sailors for calm seas, yet their needs could not quiet the stirrings within his soul. Even Hera noticed the faraway look in his eyes, a gaze not on thrones but on horizons beyond clouds. The valley's legend reached him like a melody without end, a song that played though no singer was seen. Some claimed it was guarded by mists. Others said it was born from the first dawn, never touched by night. There were tales of a river flowing in circles, endless as the sky, holding voices of all who ever lived. Zeus wondered if he, even as eternal, could comprehend eternity when bound to storms and duty of rule. The thought pressed upon him gently, like rainfall on stone, steady, shaping, reminding him of his own limits. And so he listened, night after night, until silence itself seemed to carry the valley's name in whispers. The constellations shifted, drawing signs across the heavens, guiding not mortals but the god of thunder himself. He recognized patterns in stars, subtle marks pointing eastward, where mountains folded and mists lay heavy. Still, questions lingered. Why did eternity reveal itself now? And why call to him, a ruler burdened with storms? Perhaps the valley chose its seeker, not for conquest, but for readiness, for the courage to face stillness. For Zeus, stillness was foreign. He was thunder, motion, command, yet the valley invited him to pause. This paradox pulled him stronger than any battlefield or throne, stronger than the weight of Olympus itself. He began to imagine its silence, not as emptiness, but as fullness beyond measure, like a sky without end. The thought filled him with awe, and awe turned into resolve. Resolve into a quiet decision to journey, not as king of gods, not as wielder of thunder, but as a wanderer seeking a truth beyond dominion. The valley's name was not spoken aloud, yet in his heart it resounded like a drum echoing in eternity. Zeus knew the path would be unseen, but faith and stars would light the way, guiding each silent step ahead. Thus, the first stirrings of the journey began, not in thunder, but in whispers softer than the breath of dawn. Zeus sat upon the marble seat of Olympus. Storms curled at his fingertips, yet his heart was restless and adrift. He felt the weight of immortality pressing not as a crown, but as an endless question waiting for an answer. Though the world below thrived under his watch, he longed for a truth that no lightning bolt could command. The valley's whispers followed him into daylight, echoing softly even when thunder roared across the endless skies. Gods and mortals alike revered his rule, but reverence could not satisfy the silence growing inside his spirit. He looked upon the horizon and felt small, though he was mighty, as if eternity mocked the limits of power. This restlessness was not anger nor grief, but a yearning that stirred more deeply than any storm or flame. He paced Olympus, his footsteps echoing, as though each step asked, asterisk, what lies beyond, and why does it call, asterisk? The stars no longer felt like ornaments above. They felt like guides, lanterns, leading him into an unseen path. Every constellation reminded him of promises he did not make, of knowledge he had not yet reached to touch. Hera watched him with care, her words gentle, asking why his gaze lingered beyond the clouds for nights unending. Zeus spoke little, for how could he explain a hunger not for rule, but for understanding older than the cosmos? He carried storms in his hands, but his heart carried silence, a silence begging to be answered in eternity. Even Hermes noticed, asking why the master of skies seemed distracted, as though listening to a song unheard. Zeus smiled faintly, but his silence told more than words, for he could not describe the call of the valley. The whispers had grown into melodies, threads of sound twining around him, urging him to seek their source. Each night, when thunderclouds parted, he stared not at Olympus, but at the horizon glowing faintly with promise. His thoughts turned inward, unraveling, realizing that even gods could feel incomplete, searching for hidden meaning. The restlessness was no weakness, but an awakening, the spark of discovery hidden beneath centuries of command. Zeus began to understand that true strength lay not in storms, but in listening to the silence between them. The more he pondered, the stronger the yearning grew. Like tides pulled by unseen moons across an eternal sea, he felt the valley's presence within his chest, as if the place itself lived in him before he had set eyes. Immortality stretched before him, yet it felt hollow if its secrets were left unsearched, its wonders unseen. What use was endless life if the heart remained unanswered, if questions lingered without shape or resolution? His restlessness was not rebellion against Olympus, but a calling beyond it, a promise he had yet to meet. He knew his journey would not be for glory, nor for tales sung by poets, but for the stillness of truth. Zeus, who had once mastered the storm, now felt humbled by silence, drawn to follow it into eternity. He understood now that even gods must journey, not as rulers, but as seekers. When destiny whispers from afar, the valley called not to the thunderer, not to the king, but to the soul beneath, the one longing to see. And so, restless no longer, but awakened, Zeus prepared his heart for a path shaped by stars and silence. Zeus stood at the edge of Olympus, clouds parting beneath his feet, eyes fixed on the world that lay below. The decision had been made, quiet yet certain, carried not by thunder, but by the whisper of his own heart. He would leave Olympus, not as ruler of skies, but as a traveler seeking truths hidden beyond immortal sight. For the first time in ages, he cloaked himself in simplicity, veiling his radiance, softening his eternal presence. No lightning adorned his hands, no crown rested upon his brow, only the still determination of a wandering soul. The mountains stretched vast before him, ridges like sleeping titans, valleys like secrets kept by the earth. He stepped down from divine heights, each stride humbling him, reminding him that the journey was not conquest. Birds stirred in the dawn, their songs weaving with the soft winds that carried him through mortal lands unseen. Villages passed in silence. Mortals unaware the god of thunder walked among them with calm and gentle tread. He watched their lives with quiet wonder, realizing how fragile yet full their fleeting moments truly appeared. Fields rolled with golden grain, rivers shimmered like threads of glass, and Zeus felt small among their beauty. For all his storms and power, he could not shape such tenderness. the patient rhythm of mortal breathing. The road stretched forward, winding, unmarked, as if destiny itself desired him to walk without clear direction. Each night, he lay beneath the stars, not as their master, but as their witness. Humbled by their eternal fire, the constellations no longer bowed to him. They pointed instead, forming a silent path eastward through the dark. Zeus listened to the winds as they carried echoes, faint words of the valley guiding him ever further onward. He realized the journey was not only distance, but shedding, leaving behind layers of pride and weight of rule. Every step brought lightness, not of body, but of spirit, as though silence itself traveled beside him in peace. Mountains grew taller, their peaks crowned with snow, their shadows deep as forgotten dreams waiting in stone. Zeus walked with reverence, as though each rock and tree bore memory older than his immortal reign. At times he paused, letting his hand rest upon bark, listening to the slow heartbeat of the ancient forest. Streams whispered around him, carrying not prayers, but their own music, soft and unbound by mortal voices. He learned to hear beyond thunder, to listen for subtler truths hidden in rustling leaves and shifting winds. Each sound reminded him that eternity was not thunder's roar, but the gentle persistence of quiet existence. He carried no weapon, no shield, only the resolve to keep moving, step after step, into unfolding mystery. The path narrowed, leading him deeper into wild places, where silence grew thicker, as if guarding secrets. At dawn, mist rose from valleys like veils, wrapping mountains in silver cloth, concealing what lay ahead. Zeus felt the presence of the valley stronger now, pulsing within each breath, nearer with every heartbeat. He was not afraid, for this was no enemy awaiting him, but a truth long hidden, waiting for his arrival. So he walked on, not as thunderer, not as king, but as a seeker, guided by whispers softer than dawn. Zeus walked for many days, guided by stars, until the path bent toward a hidden grove bathed in silver light. There, among the trees, he felt the air thicken with presence, as though unseen eyes lingered upon his steps. The grove was silent, yet alive, each leaf trembling faintly as though stirred by whispers older than the wind. In the center stood a figure cloaked in shadow and glow, neither mortal nor god, but something in between. This was the Oracle of Echoes, keeper of riddles, voice of truths that drift between silence and eternity. Her eyes shimmered like pools of starlight, reflecting not his form, but the storm and stillness within his soul. She spoke without moving her lips, her words rising like echoes that folded back upon themselves in the air. Zeus, son of Cronus, ruler of storms, why do you walk in silence, leaving Olympus for paths of mystery? Zeus bowed his head, not as king but as seeker, answering softly, I yearn to know what lies beyond power. The oracle smiled, though her face remained still, her voice surrounding him like wind from every direction. The valley of eternity does not yield answers as mortals seek, she said. It reflects only what you bring. You will not find treasures nor crowns, but mirrors of your heart, truths you have hidden even from yourself. Her words struck him deeper than lightning, reminding him that the journey was not toward the valley, but inward. Zeus asked, if eternity reflects only the seeker, then why does it call to me with such persistence? The oracle lifted her hand, revealing a stone that glowed faintly, pulsing as though alive with ancient rhythm. Because even gods are unfinished, she said, and eternity calls only those ready to face their own reflection. The grove shivered with her words, trees bending as though bowing to the weight of her timeless revelation. Zeus stood silent, thunder quiet in his chest, for he knew her riddles spoke truth he could not deny. The oracle placed the glowing stone at his feet, though it sank into the earth as soon as it touched ground. Follow the silence, she whispered, and when the stars no longer guide you, listen to the river without end. The grove dimmed, and the oracle's form dissolved into mist, her presence fading as though she were never there. Zeus felt both lighter and heavier, carrying riddles instead of answers, burdened yet freed by deeper knowing. He left the grove with measured steps, carrying the echo of her voice within him like a secret flame. The forest parted slowly, as though acknowledging the path he must walk. Branches bending to open the way. Night fell, and the stars appeared brighter, sharper, as though the heavens themselves conspired to guide him on. Each constellation reminded him not of victory, but of reflection. The endless patterns mirrored in mortal hearts. The oracle's words echoed. Asterisk, not answers, but reflections. Asterisk, reminding him the valley was no prize, but a mirror. Zeus realized that to face eternity was to face himself, unguarded, beyond titles, beyond storms and dominion. He walked on, not with haste, but with patience, for the journey itself had become a lesson whispered in silence. And so, guided by riddles and stars, Zeus pressed forward, deeper into the unknown, toward the valley of eternity. Zeus continued eastward, the oracle's riddle echoing within him, until mountains rose like giants before the horizon. Their peaks were wrapped in drifting silver mist, a veil that shimmered beneath the moon as though alive with breath. He climbed, slowly, each step heavy with silence, the air colder, the winds carrying whispers he could not name. The path narrowed between jagged rocks, their shapes bending like guardians carved by time to test each traveler. Zeus felt no fear, only reverence, as though he was being invited, not challenged, by something vast and unseen. The mist thickened until even the stars above were blurred, leaving him alone in a world of shifting white. Every sound was softened, even his own footsteps, as if the valley sought to erase the noise of existence. Zeus extended his hand, letting mist curl around his fingers, cool and weightless, like eternity brushing against skin. The deeper he walked, the more the world dissolved, until there was no mountain, no sky, only endless veil. In that stillness, he understood the gates of mist were not barriers, but thresholds where identity began to fade. His thoughts grew louder in the silence, each memory surfacing as though the mist drew them from his soul. He recalled the throne of Olympus, the storms he commanded, the weight of every prayer uttered by mortal voices. Yet here, none of it seemed to matter. Power dissolved like cloud under sunlight, leaving only the core of being. The mist was not emptiness but reflection, showing him the fragility hidden beneath his eternal crown of thunder. Zeus realized he was being stripped, not of strength, but of illusions, the layers of self built over centuries. At moments he faltered, tempted to summon lightning to cut through the veil, but restraint held him firmly still. He remembered the oracle's warning. The valley would not grant answers, only reflections of the heart within. So he walked on without storm or flame, guided only by faith, surrendering to the silence that wrapped him whole. Gradually, the whiteness began to thin, shapes forming beyond the veil, as if a new world awaited his arrival. The gates of mist parted, not with sound, but with breath, revealing a valley bathed in eternal silver glow. The sight stilled even Zeus, who had seen heavens rise and empires fall, yet never beauty as timeless as this. The valley stretched wide, yet carried no weight of time, every stone and leaf suspended in quiet perfection. Rivers wound through it like living threads of glass, their waters glowing faintly, as though lit from within. The air shimmered with calm, heavy yet light, a presence that felt endless, vast, and beyond mortal language. Mountains circled the valley, their peaks unseen, lost in clouds that drifted but never changed nor faded away. Zeus felt the pulse of eternity itself here, not rushing nor still, but balanced, steady, and deeply infinite. The valley did not bow to him, nor resist him. It simply was, whole and unbroken, untouched by passage of time. He knelt upon the earth, pressing his palm against the soil, and felt a heartbeat that echoed with creation. It was not the beat of gods, nor mortals, but of existence itself, endless, quiet, and profoundly alive. Here, at last, Zeus knew he had crossed into the threshold of the Valley of Eternity, the place of reflection. Zeus stepped deeper into the valley, where silence did not weigh but lifted, as though it carried him on unseen wings. The rivers that glowed like liquid starlight wound beside him, whispering with currents that spoke without words. He bent to touch the water, and ripples spread outward in circles. Yet each returned to him, unbroken and whole. The valley seemed alive, aware of his presence, but not in worship, rather in acknowledgement, like an equal greeting. Every tree stood tall, their leaves shimmering faintly, as though lit from within by memories older than Olympus. When Zeus placed his hand on the bark, warmth pulsed back, not heat, but the steady rhythm of timeless breath. He realized the valley was not built of stone or wood, but of living echoes, carrying essence beyond mortal measure. Birds sang in the distance, though their voices did not mark time, but rang with tones eternal, unchanging, infinite. Even the air felt different, not heavy nor thin, but balanced, a harmony that held him steady with each inhale. He understood then that this place was not bound to seasons, nor to rising and setting suns, but to pure stillness. As he walked, the ground began to glimmer with faint patterns, spirals and circles etched in the living earth. The shapes reminded him of constellations, yet not fixed in sky, but breathing beneath his very footsteps. When he paused to look closer, the patterns shifted slowly, as though mapping the rhythm of his own heartbeat. Zeus wondered if the valley mirrored not only thought, but life itself, flowing back whatever essence touched it. A voice rose then, not from sky, not from earth, but from everywhere, soft and resonant, like many tones in one. It spoke no words, yet he understood, for it resonated in his chest, like thunder softened into melody. The valley was speaking, not to command nor to question, but to remind him he was part of something vast. Zeus listened, closing his eyes, and felt the echo draw him deeper into himself. Beyond power, beyond thunder, he saw visions within, a child cradled by Rhea, storms rising at his call, temples rising to his name. But he also saw stillness moments of quiet laughter, the hush of dawn, the peace between lightning strikes. The valley showed him balance, the truth that eternity is not force, but the union of silence and sound. Zeus opened his eyes, and before him stood a bridge, not built of stone, but woven of silver threads of light. It stretched across the river of glass, shimmering with every hue of dawn and dusk, a path of living radiance. He stepped onto it carefully, yet it held him with strength beyond steel, soft yet unbreakable in its grace. As he crossed, the water below reflected not the sky, but visions of himself in countless forms and moments. He saw himself as a child, a warrior, a king, a seeker, each reflection blending into the other seamlessly. The sight humbled him, reminding him that even gods were not fixed, but flowing, shifting like rivers of time. When he reached the far side, the bridge dissolved into light, fading back into the air as though never formed. Ahead, the land opened into a meadow where flowers glowed faintly, their petals swaying though no wind stirred. Each bloom released a faint sound, like the ringing of crystal, weaving together into a chorus of living music. Zeus sat among the flowers, listening, and for the first time in ages, he felt no need to speak or to command. The music filled him not with triumph, but with serenity, a reminder that eternity was not conquest, but harmony. He leaned back, gazing at the sky above, where stars glimmered even in daylight, eternal and unchanging. The valley embraced him, not as ruler nor wanderer, but as soul unfinished, seeking, learning with each breath. Zeus whispered softly, though no one was near, "Perhaps power is not in storms, but in the silence between." The words faded, yet the valley carried them gently, returning them as a soft echo, whole and undisturbed. In that moment, Zeus knew he was no longer only walking through the valley of eternity. He was becoming part of it. Zeus awoke the next morning within the meadow, though the valley itself did not shift between night or day. The flowers still glowed, their faint crystal hum weaving gently into the silence, timeless as the stars above. He rose slowly, feeling no weight of fatigue, for the valley seemed to nourish him with quiet strength. The rivers nearby shimmered like silver ribbons, guiding him forward as though they carried a secret direction. Zeus followed their course, his footsteps light, each sound absorbed into the endless harmony of this land. The water's glow deepened as he walked, reflecting not just his image, but memories woven into rippling waves. He saw temples rising in his honor, mortals lifting prayers, storms bowing to his command with roaring thunder. Yet as quickly as they formed, the images melted into stillness, leaving only the river's steady glow. The valley reminded him again. Power was not possession, but reflection, a cycle of giving and returning. The truth felt both freeing and heavy, like a crown woven of light, beautiful, but carried with awareness. Soon the river curved into a wide pool, its surface so still it seemed a mirror laid upon the earth. At its center stood a single tree, its branches stretching outward, heavy with leaves of radiant silver. The tree pulsed softly, as though breathing with the rhythm of the valley, eternal and unbroken. Zeus stepped closer, the ground firm and warm beneath his feet, and the air thickened with quiet reverence. A voice rose, not like the valley's hum, but singular, flowing from the tree like wind through hollow wood. "Child of thunder," it said gently, "you seek eternity, yet carry storms within your chest still untamed." Zeus bowed his head, not as ruler, but as pilgrim, and whispered, "I seek to know what lies beyond dominion." The tree shimmered, its silver leaves trembling though no breeze stirred, as if moved by his honesty. "Dominion is shadow," it replied. "Eternity is light. To see beyond, you must stand where shadow and light meet." Zeus felt the words settle in his heart like roots, anchoring truths deeper than the mountains themselves. The pool at the tree's base began to shift, revealing not water but visions layered like veils of glass. He saw himself seated on Olympus, lightning in hand, eyes fierce and commanding yet alone, surrounded by silence. He saw another reflection himself, walking among mortals, listening to their songs, sharing in their fleeting joys. And then, a third image himself, with no throne, no storms, simply standing still, embraced by the valley. Each vision shimmered, asking not for choice, but for recognition, for balance within his eternal being. The tree spoke again. "To walk further, you must carry not one self, but all selves, whole and unbroken." Zeus touched the pool, and ripples spread outward, blending the three images until they became one stream of light. The tree sighed softly, its glow brightening, as if pleased by his willingness to hold all reflections within. "Then you are ready," it said, "to cross into the deeper heart, where eternity breathes without form or sound." Zeus nodded, gratitude filling him. The words felt small compared to the vastness of the truth he touched. The meadow dimmed, though no darkness fell. Instead, the light folded inward, revealing a hidden path of silver. The tree's voice echoed one final time. "Remember, eternity does not crown you. It mirrors you. Walk with humility." Zeus stepped forward, the path glowing beneath his feet, carrying him deeper into the heart of the valley. The air grew even stiller, yet alive with presence, as though unseen beings watched not with judgment, but with care. He realized the valley was not testing him, nor guiding him. It was simply showing him what already lived within. The deeper he walked, the lighter he felt, as though each step stripped away another weight long carried. For the first time, Zeus felt not like a god above, nor a seeker below, but simply a soul walking whole. And so, in silence and in reverence, he pressed onward, toward the heart of the valley of eternity, unafraid. Zeus followed the silver path deeper into the valley, where sound dissolved into stillness more profound than silence. The air was not empty, but vibrant, carrying a presence like unseen hands gently shaping the space around him. Each step echoed softly, yet the echoes did not fade. They lingered, folding back into him like whispered truths. The ground shimmered with light woven in spirals, guiding him forward as if eternity itself had drawn the map. Above, the stars shone even in daylight, suspended without motion, their glow unchanging, eternal in their vigil. Zeus felt his own breath align with the valley's pulse, each inhale and exhale joining a rhythm beyond time. The silver path curved into a vast open plain, its surface smooth as glass, reflecting both sky and soul. Here, reflections did not mimic his body, but revealed layers within courage, doubt, strength, fear, love, and longing. Zeus gazed down and saw storms swirling in one reflection, yet calm seas in another, both belonging to him. The plain was a mirror of the inner self, not to judge, but to reveal what power often sought to hide. He stepped carefully, watching each reflection shift with his thoughts, as though the valley read the unspoken within. Lightning flickered in one image, yet in another, he saw himself without thunder, only quiet understanding. The sight humbled him. He realized storms were not his entirety, only one face among countless hidden within. As he walked, the plain brightened until a figure emerged, not separate from him, but born of his reflection. It resembled Zeus in form, yet softer, unburdened by crown or storm, radiating peace instead of command. The figure spoke gently, though no lips moved. "I am you without dominion, you without thunder's weight." Zeus listened in silence, heart heavy and light at once, as the figure's voice resonated deeper than thought. "You carry storms as shield and crown, yet beneath them lies a self you seldom let breathe," it continued. The truth pierced not as wound but as release, reminding him that divinity was not only command but surrender. Zeus asked quietly, "If you are part of me, what must I learn from you to walk further into eternity?" The figure smiled, a reflection of serenity he had rarely known within himself, and answered like wind on water. "Learn to rest, as lightning rests before it strikes, as rivers rest before they flow. Eternity lives in stillness." The words washed over him like rain after drought, filling spaces long left hollow by endless struggle for control. Zeus reached out, and as their hands touched, the figure dissolved into light, sinking back into his own chest. A warmth spread through him, not fiery like thunder, but steady, grounding, like roots anchoring him to all things. The plain shimmered brighter, and the reflection steadied, showing not fragments but a whole self at peace. For the first time, Zeus felt truly complete, not as ruler, not as seeker, but as one joined within himself. He stood taller, not with pride, but with clarity, carrying storms and silence together as equal parts of his soul. The path ahead revealed itself once more, a ribbon of silver unfurling toward a horizon that seemed endless. Zeus walked forward, no longer searching only for answers, but ready to meet eternity as both God and soul. The valley hummed softly, as though acknowledging his step, each note weaving into a chorus of quiet approval. Mountains in the distance glowed faintly, their peaks lost in clouds, calling him toward the valley's deepest heart. The journey was no longer about reaching a place, but about becoming what the place reflected in its stillness. Zeus breathed deeply, the air rich with timeless calm, and felt that even eternity was no stranger now. The path narrowed once more, but he did not falter. He carried the light of his reflection firmly within. He whispered to the valley, though it needed no words, "I will walk as whole, storms and silence as one." The valley answered, not with speech, but with resonance, a quiet that filled him with strength beyond thunder. And so he pressed onward, ready for the final chambers of truth, where the valley of eternity held its deepest breath. Zeus continued along the silver thread of the valley, each step lighter, as though time itself no longer restrained him. The path wound upward, curling toward peaks wrapped in eternal mist, where echoes of forgotten hymns drifted on the wind. He felt the air thicken with presence, not heavy but charged, alive, like unseen voices breathing through the stones. The mountains ahead glowed with veins of crystal light, and each spark pulsed like a heartbeat drawn from eternity. As Zeus ascended, he noticed the valley shifting. The stones whispered, rivers hummed, clouds moved in quiet patterns. It was not the valley changing, but his vision. Now he saw the eternal rhythm flowing through all things alive. Reaching a plateau, he stood before an arch of luminous stone, carved not by hand but by the breath of ages. The arch shimmered with symbols older than Olympus, glowing faintly as if awaiting recognition from a forgotten heart. Zeus raised his hand, and the symbols brightened, not by command, but by resonance, as though answering a silent truth. He stepped beneath the arch, and the world around him melted into light, carrying him into a chamber of memory. The chamber stretched vast, with walls that were not stone, but woven from threads of living starlight. Each thread carried a memory, not just of gods, but of mortals, rivers, winds, and dreams long vanished from time. Zeus watched as images rippled across the threads. Lives lived, laughter shared, hopes carried into endless night. He realized the Valley of Eternity did not belong to gods alone, but to every soul that ever touched existence. A wave of humility swept through him, heavier than thunder, yet gentle as rain that nourishes the sleeping earth. He had thought eternity was his realm, but here it was vast, shared, and boundless, a tapestry without end. As he walked deeper, one thread glowed brighter than the rest, humming softly, calling him closer with tender insistence. He reached out, and the thread unraveled into a vision, a child gazing at the stars, eyes full of wonder. The child was not godly, not marked by power, but mortal, fragile, alive, yet holding eternity in their gaze. Zeus felt tears rise, for in that gaze was something purer than lightning, an unbroken faith in the infinite. The vision shifted, showing countless others, mothers whispering lullabies, travelers seeking horizons, poets chasing unseen truths. Each life, though fleeting, carved a mark upon eternity, leaving echoes stronger than thunder's roar. Zeus understood. Eternity was not measured in storms or rains, but in the quiet persistence of every living soul. He sank to his knees, not in weakness, but in reverence, honoring the tapestry that sang with endless voices. For the first time, Zeus bowed not to a higher power, but to the simple, eternal song of creation itself. The chamber brightened, threads weaving faster, forming patterns that pulsed like a great cosmic heart. In its rhythm, Zeus felt his own heart align, beating not for himself, but for all things intertwined. The starlight wrapped around him, not to bind, but to welcome him as one note in the greater symphony. He closed his eyes, breathing in the harmony, feeling himself dissolve into it, storm and silence merging as one. When he opened his eyes again, the chamber was still, the threads quiet, as though content with his awakening. Ahead, a door of pure light awaited, glowing with the promise of truths even deeper than those just revealed. Zeus rose, steadier than ever, his steps no longer driven by search, but by the certainty of belonging. The valley had shown him not his dominion, but his place among countless voices in eternity's endless choir. He placed his hand on the door, and it opened without resistance, welcoming him into yet another mystery. The light poured around him, carrying whispers of futures unformed, dreams unborn, paths still waiting to be walked. Zeus stepped forward, heart unburdened, knowing that whatever lay ahead was not conquest but communion. The Valley of Eternity breathed softly, as though exhaling, embracing him deeper into its timeless embrace. He whispered back, "I walk not as ruler, but as one with all," and the valley shimmered in quiet reply. The journey was not ending, but unfolding, each step a verse, each breath a thread in eternity's endless story. And so, with thunder hushed within and harmony alive, Zeus passed into the final threshold of the valley. Zeus stepped through the doorway of light, and the world around him opened into a sky without horizon or end. The air was not air, but shimmering presence, alive with color, sound, and silence, all woven into one eternal fabric. He felt weightless, yet grounded, as though his very being had become part of the vast expanse surrounding him now. Stars glimmered close enough to touch, and galaxies turned slowly, their spiral arms like dancers moving without hurry. The Valley of Eternity had led him here, into its heart, where time dissolved and all was one continuous flow. Zeus realized he was not standing within a place, but within the essence of eternity itself, alive and breathing. Here there were no boundaries, no thrones, no crowns, no separations between God, mortal, river, or star. Everything pulsed together in harmony, a chorus of existence, vast and tender, both fragile and unbreakable. Zeus placed a hand over his chest and felt not only his heartbeat, but the heartbeat of all creation within him. He whispered to himself, "This is not mine to rule. It is mine to belong to, as I am part of it." The light swirled gently around him, forming figures, shadows of gods, mortals, animals, winds, seas, and forgotten dreams. Each figure bowed not in submission, but in greeting, recognizing him as brother, not as lord or conqueror. Zeus returned their bow, a quiet smile upon his lips, the weight of his storm now softened by understanding. In that moment, thunder within him stilled, no longer restless, but attuned to the rhythm of all he beheld. He understood now that power was never in dominion, but in connection, in the weaving together of countless lives. The valley had tested him not with trials of might, but with truths of humility, reflection, and belonging. He closed his eyes, allowing the vast expanse to seep into him, each breath merging him deeper into eternity. When he opened them again, the light had shaped itself into a path stretching ahead, infinite yet welcoming. It was not a path of conquest or end, but of continuity, an eternal walk alongside all that ever was. Zeus stepped forward, not as ruler of Olympus, but as a soul among souls. Storms and silence carried together. The galaxies whispered as he passed, their voices gentle, like rivers telling stories of journeys both long and short. He heard the laughter of children, the cries of rivers, the sighs of winds, and the songs of stars. All these voices blended into a hymn so vast it could not be sung, only felt deep within the spirit. Zeus realized eternity was not stillness alone, but movement, the endless flow of stories weaving themselves together. He lifted his gaze, and for the first time, did not seek the throne of lightning, but the embrace of harmony. The valley of eternity had not stripped him of his storms, but had taught him to let them rest within peace. Now thunder was not burden, but one note among countless others, necessary but never alone. He carried this truth as the galaxies parted before him, revealing a horizon made of both dawn and dusk. The path shimmered, not promising answers, but inviting him to keep walking, to keep listening, to keep belonging. Zeus felt no fear, no doubt, only clarity, as if he had become the valley's breath, and the valley his own. In the distance, a final arch of light rose, not to end the journey, but to welcome him further into it. Zeus paused, inhaled deeply, and whispered to all existence, "I walk with you, not above you, forevermore." The valley answered in silence, in song, in stars, in winds, and in the endless beating of creation's heart. He stepped through the arch, and the light embraced him, dissolving boundaries until there was no Zeus, no valley. There was only eternity, whole and unbroken, flowing forever, carrying storms, silence, and song as one. And within that boundless breath, Zeus was not lost, he was found, finally and eternally, as part of all.